What's up, y'all? What's up, guys? What's up? This is him here again, back on the live stream. I'm just gonna check in the background and make sure that everything is working perfectly and that we are live. Okay, it looks like we are live. Looks like we're live. Now, before I even get into anything, as you guys already know, I set up a poll on the channel in which I asked subscribers, the folks who follow my channel, to vote on the next topic of the live stream. Now, this was new for me because, as you already know, I typically do not do that, right? Typically, I just come up with a topic and then just go ahead and go live with the topic, and who comes. But I chose to do that this time around because I said, you know what? I'm sure there'll probably be a lot of folks who there'll probably be a lot of people out there who have certain topics they want to discuss. Let me just put out there and see, because I have so many topics I didn't know what to do, so I just let the audience vote, and y'all chose this topic. So we're gonna cover it. We're gonna dive into. Oh, we got someone in the chat right here. Akua Obang. Welcome, Akua. As you can see the title, we're gonna dive into this. Originally, I had another. I'm like, y'all know I have a lot of black women on my channel, a lot of black men on my channel. I had another black woman who was commenting before she, I think, came in another live stream I did. I don't know if she'll come back again this time around. But what we're gonna be talking about today is how divestment contributes to colorism, right? And we're going to dive into this topic. And of course, I'll give my introduction, my log, and my breakdown, everything. And of course, depending on how the stream goes, we could always open it for the panel for folks to join and talk deeper into it, depending on how the conversation goes. So we'll see. Now, I will apologize because originally I will apologize because I rescheduled the stream a lot. Y'all know I'm busy, so I was actually planning on canceling, but I felt like I had to do it. So things came up, so I couldn't do it during the day. So I do more later on in the evening. So I know some folks will be disappointed in that. I think next time I'm gonna do better at planning my stuff. It's probably gonna be more in the evening and night moving forward. I think just to make things more consistent. So I'll just hopefully folks will still come since although it was rescheduled, but we'll see. So let's go dive into the topic. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm going to dive into divestment, and all of that jazz, right? And then we're gonna dive into how divestments contributes to colorism, and then we'll move on and we'll see where we go off from there. Let's start with divestment. Now, a lot of folks at first glance may not even understand what the topic means, what divestment means, what it's about, what's being talked about. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to break down the divestment movement. Okay. Divestors, in many ways, they're a group of black women, particularly online, who proclaim that they are going to leave the black community and go and date interracially, and because the black community is Blackistan, and by dating interracially and pairing up with non-black men, this will give them better life, a soft life. Things will be better in general. And they typically not only demonize black men in the process of them divesting, they demonize black women and they demonize black people in general. So black people get demonized in general by divestors, right? But understand that they are the female version of a broader sort of pattern or behavior that you see within black people. So, for example, there is a black male version of divestors. Why these are the Paso Bro, these are the, and by the way, this is not all Paso, but a large part of them are. These are the SYSBM, these are the dudes who promote racial dating, and they sound, they behave almost the same. They talk about how they're gonna, save yourself from the what do they call it? Communita, leave the strag, the black females alone, go to non-black women, chase non-black women, you'll be saved by non-black women. That's what they're on, right? And so they also kind of, and they not only attack black women, they attack black men as well as the black community. So understand that although I'm focusing divestors, they're simply the female version of a general mindset, because they're men who have similar attitudes too. So divestors, for the most part, do very much believe that going to other non-black communities is going to be to their advantage, is going to benefit them, and that the black community, black men are just bad, and that's just how it is what it is, right? So that's their entire movement. And then you have the male counterpart, Pastor Bros, that's why it's BM guys who they date out, and they're on that same time too. We got to go and date down black women in the black community straps, all that stuff, right? Understand that you do have black men and black women who just so happen to interracial. They don't have any animosity, right? We do have those things. That does happen. But what I'm specifically speaking on is the divestors, or I guess those who have this specific kind of mentality, especially when it comes to dating out. And I believe that a majority of black people who do date out, they have this mentality in varying degrees, meaning they may not even know what a divestor is or SYSBM or all that kind of stuff is, but they may feel similar. They may feel like, I'm tired of dealing with my own group. I don't want to deal with black issues, all that kind of stuff. So understand I'm speaking about a certain mentality. Let me address the comment here. It's not a lie that a lot of black men are colorists, but why they switch to white men, even though white people look colorism against black people? Yes, you're right. I'm like, once again, I don't deny that black men have some of these problems too, but that's what we're going to dive into this issue, right? So when you look at a divestor, what you see is that divestor is part of a certain mentality, flawed mentality, that impacts both black women and black men. It's not just focused or isolated just to black women. So it impacts both. We're gonna focus on divestors for this, right? The fundamental problem with this ideology is that, of course, it contradicts reality, right? Number one, like I've said, I made another live stream about this. I took it down because of audio issues, because folks were asking me, hey, that live stream you made about black women and race over gender, where is it? I took it down because of audio problems. So I want to let you know that. But nevertheless, like I sent a live stream as well as the other video I made, Dear Black Woman, It's Always Race Over Gender. I broke down how the reality of this world is predicated on, it's very simple. It's different groups of men who compete and battle with each other for power. That's how it is. Okay? The hierarchy of power, the hierarchy of status, all based on men and their, respective power in respect to each other. That's what it's based on. There's really little there's little to no exceptions, really. It all comes down to groups of men competing with each other power. And then the privileges, and to some extent even some of the power that the women and children may get, is predicated on where the men are at. There's no getting around this. So if white men are at the top of the hierarchy and they rank, or they've conquered groups of men, they rank other groups of men, that means by default, white women and white children are going to have more privileges, not only over the other groups of men, but also over the women and children too. So white females not only end up having more privileges than the white women, not only end up having more privileges than white men, they also, white women not only end up having more privileges than black men, they end up having more privileges than black women and black children. Because once again, because their men are in a higher, power status compared to black men, that means they are elevated with their men. Now, as women, they have no ability to change. This is the most important part. The women have no ability to change the power and the status of the group. The power and status of the group is predicated on their men. Wherever the men are at is where they are at. So if white men fell today and black men rose to power, white women would have no ability to change that fact. If the men get defeated, the men get defeated, and they're going down with the men. If black men rise, and black women and children going up with black men. That's how that works. So when you understand this fundamental reality, then you understand why divestment thing is a lie. Because once again, you are going to another community in which just by default, the men there have no tie to you, right? These non-black men that tie to you are not their women. So automatically when they're dealing with you, there's always going to be a degree of separation. They're going to remind you time and time again, hey, you're not white, you're not Asian, you're not Hispanic. So it's not your group of men. So whatever deferences or privileges or treatment you may get with your men, or you may feel entitled to for your men, you're not going to be able to pull up to a white dude talking about why aren't you defending black women. He said, bitch, I'm not black. I don't owe you nothing. You're not my female. Now, if a white girl pulls up to me as a white dude asking me why I'm not defending white women, okay, fine. She has the right to say that because why? She's my female counterpart as a white man. So when you go to these non-black communities, right? Number one, these non-black men have no ties to you. They don't owe you anything. And you're going to get reminded that you're not their women. So they can not only do they owe you nothing, you have no real, you have no authority or credibility to make any demands of them like that. And they can always easily dispose of you. And then number two, you will always be secondary to their women. Look, as a black woman, I hope you don't think that you're going to go into Asian community, white community, Latino community, and then be expected to be treated on the same level as women. That's not going to work. They're going to make it very clear, hey, you only here because, you're only here because you are dealing with a man from this community, but you're not part of this community. Not only are the men here going to always be over you, but the women here are going to always be over you too, because you're not part of the group. If a white man dates you and he brings you to a white function or white place, right, white event, you're only in that space because a white man is with you. They're going to let you know, number one, you are not a part of the group. You are secondary to the white men here, and you are definitely secondary to the white women here. Because the white women are still our women, still part of the group. You as a black female, not part of that group. Same thing if you went into an Asian event or Hispanic event. So one, you got to deal with the fact that, when black women say that, when you go and date out and deal with these, when you divest these non-black communities, understand number one, you got to deal with the fact that you are not a part of that group. You will always be secondary to their people, whether men, women, or children, right? That's number one. Number two, you're going to be dealing with issues when it comes to the families. The families are never really going to accept you like that. There's always going to be that one aunt, one uncle, one sibling, one cousin, one somebody. There's always going to be one somebody somewhere in the family line who's going to let it be known that they don't approve of you being in this group. Hey, Brad, why is this black female here? Hey, Shong Li, why is this black female here? Hey, Carlos, why is she here? Couldn't you find a woman of our group? So number one, not only are you always going to be secondary to their people, men, women, or children, but number two, there's always going to be someone in that family, if not the family in general, but there's always going to be someone in that family who's going to let it be known that they don't accept you. They'll never accept you. You're not part of this group. Okay? And then 3, what you're going to have to deal with is the fact that when you zoom out on the group level, you're not a part of that group. There's always going to be this sort of, weird dynamic in which, like, I'll give you an example. Let's say you are a black woman, right? And there is a police, you essentially have a situation where a black female gets racial, racism thrown on her. Some situation happens where she faces racism, right? And as a black female, you connect with it. Yeah. Now here's the thing. Obviously, you want to rally behind this black female, but the non-black man you with, he said, look, that's not my problem. His family, like his people, I'm like, yeah, you go do that. We're not going to part of that. So another thing you're going to have to deal with is that because you're not a part of that group, they have no reason to back you up or support you anything. You're literally by yourself. So one, when you deal with into these non-black groups, you're always secondary to those people. 2, there's always going to be somebody in the family who doesn't accept you. And 3, the group is going to make it very clear that you by yourself. That if you or other black women or other black folks face issues, they're going to let you know, yeah, we don't want you know. Look, you're not part of our group. Go figure something out. So you're literally by yourself, right? And then 4, most important, you're going to have to deal with the biracial kids. You're going to have to deal with the biracial kids. Those kids are never going to be fully accepted in these non-black communities. A lot of these family members are going to be talking negatively and horribly about your children. Now, of course, if you were a white woman, there's no problem with it, because I literally saw a situation recently in which a black female was getting with a Korean dude, right? And the family literally told the Korean guy that, hey, 1, we want you to get with a Korean female, but number 2, he said that, hey, but number 2, the family said, hey, if you're going to go and date interracially, get a white woman. They literally told him this in her presence. So it's not that they're not necessarily opposed to interracial dating or marriage. It's just that because they view black people as being at the bottom of the cast from their point of view, right? Dating interracially with a black person is going backwards. It's sort of like being pulled down. Compared to if you're dating with a white person interracially, you're being pulled up. So you're going to have to deal with the anti-blackness is going to be, felt when it comes to the biracial kids. The families are going to let you know in more ways than one that them kids are they don't claim them kids. But if those kids were half white, don't claim them, don't celebrate them. Because of half black, nope. The community of that non-black male is not going to send the kids. And so what's going to end up happening is you're going to have to raise a child where literally they cannot even interact with literally half of their side. That's what happens. A lot of black biracial kids, like black biracial kids, end up being on the black side because of non-blacks that never claims them. Do you understand the psychological trauma to grow up knowing that literally half of your side you cannot hates you to your guts? I remember when I was in high school, and there was a biracial woman talking about how her own white mother tried to kill her. Think about the psychological effects being a biracial child. Growing up, you got a black parent, non-black parent, right? In this situation, this biracial teacher in my high school, right? Her father was black, her mother was white. They divorced. They broke up. Her mother hated her because, as y'all well know, a lot of these non-black communities, especially white men, the moment they find out that you dated out with a black person, it's over. So she struggled being able to go back to her. And by the way, she left the biracial kid with the father. But even that, the moment white dudes found out that she had a biracial kid, it was over. And so she ended up resenting her. The white mother tried to kill her. The father had to put the white mother under restraining order. And the biracial kid had to now live with the black father. Can you imagine the psychological trauma this biracial black woman had to deal with? Knowing that her white, not only her white side, her own white mother trying to kill her. And it can happen your way too, right? It could have been her white father trying to kill her. There are many kids of that too. The white father, takes, he gets with that black female. Eventually, he starts to resent the situation and try to kill the biracial kids too. So you got to understand that when you go over there, the biracial kids never gonna be accepted. And I want y'all to understand that everything I am saying about divestors applies to black men too. It's the same thing. If you're a black man dating out, you're gonna be doing the same thing. I'm just focusing on diversity because that's the topic of the show. But it applies to black men the same way. So understand that this is what you're going to be dealing with. Number one, you're always going to be secondary to the group. Number two, there's always going to be somebody in the family who is not going to accept you. Number three, whenever you face issues, you're going to be by yourself. The group is not going to back you because you're not part of that group. Number four, them biracial kids are going to be dealing with trauma. You're going to be dealing with trauma with them. They're never going to be fully accepted on the non-black side. This is what a divestor is going to have to deal with. A black woman who wants to hop over to these non-black communities. But also understand that this also applies to black men. If you're a black man dating out, you got to do, once again, like that sort of biracial female teacher, right? Her white mother tried to kill her. Her father was a black dude. So as a black man, you're dealing with the same stuff too. So this is what the divestment movement is. And to be honest with you, this is the reason why the divestment movement failed. Because when you start to see stories after stories after stories after stories coming out of all these black women being unalived, being raped, facing anti-black racism, all other things, right? That story I told you about the black female dealing with that Korean dude. And how the family told him into a face, hey, if you go on the date out, told the Korean son, if you go on date out, make sure the white girl, don't bring this black female thing here. So because of all of these truths coming out, that's what the divestment thing kind of faded away, because it became too blatant. Like the racial reality became too blatant even for divestors to ignore. That's why it kind of fell a little bit. And the same thing happened on the male side. Dudes were pushing Paso, bro. SYSBM. Well, all of a sudden we sort of see black men being robbed in Colombia. We sort of see black men facing anti-black racism. Same thing on that side too. The anti-blackness that black men face from these non-black communities became too real for even SYSBM. Paso was denied. I mean, even Austin Holloman had to go. He had to go to Africa. So divestment, although it refers to a certain group of black women who, pedestalize dating out and want to date out, fundamentally it represents a certain mentality that affects both black men and black women who want to go out here and chase non-black people, go in non-black communities. And of course, both of these groups, whether it's black men and black women who choose to pursue this mentality of dating out, going to these non-black communities, are going to end up dealing with the same things, right? So now that I have established what divestment is and all that kind of stuff, now we're going to dive into how divestment contributes to colorism. But first, let me go on the chat because I have been missing y'all. Good question, Akua. Thank you, Educated Tyrone. Facts. Thank you, Tyrone. Hammer, where are you from again? I forgot. I already told you I'm from the country of Cameroon. I told you all this. West Africa, Cameroon. We live in an anti-society. Whether you're a black man or black woman, you will never survive. Yeah, that's true. You'll be tolerated, but never accepted. Exactly. Yikes. Brad loves sending them to the upper room one, and then that's a fact. Facts. And Africa was basketball. I'm like, yeah, look, I told them nigga, I said, look, if you're gonna do passables, go to Africa, go to black countries. I don't understand how, as a black man, you are going to leave the United States, a majority non-black country, and then go to another majority non-black country. That never made any sense to me whatsoever. From my point of view, if I'm going to leave the United States and go somewhere, it's going to be a place that's going to be black. I'm like, yes, anti-blackness here, but at least you know America. Why would you leave the country and then go to a place where you got to deal with at the same anti-blackness, but now you're a foreigner? I've never gotten that. So I've always told them that should be Africa. So it took them time, but they got there. So now we're going to dive into, right, now that I've broken down investment, that kind of stuff, now we're going to dive into now that I have sort of dived into divestment and all that stuff, let me see here. The reason we all know why. Some of them are going to go into West Africa, South Africa. Like a lot of them are going to Kenya, which is not really the home, which is where black people really are. Y'all already know that I make a separation between North Africa and the Horn. North Africa is mostly Middle Eastern people. The Horn are mixed. East Africa and West Central East Southern Africa is black. So that's, y'all know that. Yeah, plus more of a language barrier. Yep. And some of these dudes know less Spanish than me, and I'm not even passport exactly. But now that I have broken down divestment, all that kind of stuff, what I'm gonna dive into now is the main title of the show. How does divestment contribute to colorism? I'll break it down to you, right? If you are a black woman, and I'm gonna focus specifically on black female because black women are the ones who can put in most of our colorism, right? It's very much true. It's real. It affects black and black women different. It affects black men and black women differently. But I'm gonna focus on black females because I personally believe it affects them more. But if you're a black female and you buy into the mentality of divestment, you go and you don't chase non-black men. What you are doing by doing this as a black female, you are buying into the color hierarchy. You're buying into the hierarchy of non-black people, lighter skin being superior. That's what you're buying into when you, as a black female, are chasing out to go intermix with these non-black men. And what ends up happening is that when you produce these quote unquote, mixed biracial kids, right? These biracial kids are going to benefit from that same color hierarchy that you just reinforced or contributed to by, doing the whole divestment thing. And then when they grow up and they have the privileges because they're lighter skin, that kind of stuff, you're going to resent that. Now, keep this in mind. This is already starting to happen within divestors. There was a major sort of rift between the exoticals, biracial women, and the black female or divestor, right? Already happening. Because what ended up happening is that although there's all this, we got to come together, we got to, date out, that kind of stuff. You go and do that. But then when these mixed people come out from these, quote unquote, marriages, and they benefit from those from the same privileges, they benefit from the same color hierarchy that you helped to reinforce by divesting, then you want to complain. Then when they flex those privileges on you, it's a problem. How are you going to complain about the privilege of light-skinned women, but you're pushing divesting? How does that work? How are you going to complain about, the color hierarchy when it comes to light skin, when it comes to exoticals, but you're pushing divesting? Divesting not only contributes, well, I guess you could say reinforces the sort of color hierarchy, but you end up producing those same groups of people who will end up benefiting from the same color hierarchy that you're complaining about. And then when those same biracials and exoticals come together and make the group, right? And they make it very clear that because of their admixture and because they view themselves as being, higher up within the color hierarchy, they view themselves as being superior to you as a black female. Now it's a problem. Now it's colorism. Now it's an issue. But it wasn't a problem when you helped create that. The same thing applies to black men too. The only thing is that black men are not as affected by colorism compared to black women. I'll tell you why. Colorism affects black men in one way only. Is that colorism essentially paints black men as being this big black brute. Meaning that you could be 5'2", skinny black guy. When people see you, all they're gonna see is this big black brute. Which means that you're gonna view as more of a threat, right? People are gonna view as more of a threat. People are gonna more be violent towards you, right? But that's the only real way colorism affects black men. Black women are affected way by colorism. And the reason is because although black men face racism and colorism, right, because black men are still men, what allows them to attract women is not based on, I mean that the number one factor when it comes to men and the ability to get women is resources. So although the colorism may affect black men because of men, as long as they got resources, they can compensate for that. For black women, it's different. It affects them more. Why? Because women are primarily judged by their beauty. So if you are viewed as being less attractive due to colorism, that directly affects the sort of main factor that determines a woman's ability to attract a man. See, the sort of main factor that determines how a man attracts as a woman, right, is resources. That is not impacted by colorism. So black men, as long as they got resources, they can still go out here and compete and get this owner, right? So colorism may affect them, but it won't affect them as bad because the sort of main factor that determines whether a man is able to attract a female, which is once again, it's not the only factor, but it's the main factor, is resources. So because the main factor that is used to sort of judge a man and their ability to attract women, which is resources, is not impacted by colorism, it means that black men, for the most part, are not really that affected by it. As long as they got money, they can compensate for the effects when it comes to the effects of colorism. Black women cannot do that because for black women, the main factor, not the only factor, but the main factor that determines a woman's ability to attract a man is beauty. And so because colorism directly affects how he'll perceive you, your appearance, it means that colorism directly affects the main factor that a woman uses to gauge her ability to quote unquote attract a male. Not the only factor, but the main factor. And so if women are primarily judged by beauty, that's the main factor that is used to determine the attractiveness. And then black women are unable to disadvantaged in this area because of colorism. That means that by default, they're going to be hit harder compared to black men. See, the main factor for women is beauty. So if colorism directly focuses on one's appearance, and we know that women are primarily judged by the appearance, that means that black women are going to be negatively impacted when it comes to how they're perceived, which is going to negatively impact their beauty, how they're perceived when it comes to beauty. And if a group of women have their beauty, I guess you could say, if a group of women essentially have their beauty devalued, that reduces their ability to attract a mate. It hurts them in a serious way. Because that is the main factor the main factor that is used to judge their ability to get a mate. Black men, because they're men, the main factor that is used to judge men is economics. So as long as black men got the economics, they can compensate for colorism. Black women, the main factor used to judge women is beauty and attractiveness. And so therefore, because colorism deals with appearance, it means that colorism directly harms black women's beauty and how they are perceived when it comes to beauty. It degrades it. And so if the main factor that is used to judge women is beauty and appearance, and colorism essentially degrades black women's ability to be viewed as beautiful, that means that black women end up being more affected by colorism. It's actually much more detrimental because there's no, yes, can they compensate with other things? Yes, but because the main factor that is used to judge women, which is beauty, is now being, because the main factor of women is because the main factor that is used to judge women's ability to attract a mate is beauty, and colorism has to deal with appearance. That means that if colorism affects black women, it's going to affect them in the area of appearance, which means that it's going to degrade, how they are viewed when it comes to beauty. And if a group of women, if women in general are quote unquote judged by the beauty, and a group of women are having their beauty be degraded because of colorism, that is going to hurt them way more intensely compared to how colorism will hurt black men. Because colorism does not affect the main factor that is used to quote unquote judge men's ability to attract women. But colorism does affect the main factor that is used to judge women's ability to attract a male. And so that means that colorism ends up affecting black women way more. Black men are still able to use the resources to compensate because of men, but black women, their beauty get degraded, completely destroying their ability to attract a mate, putting them at a complete disadvantage. And so when you're going out here as a black female and you decide you're going to go and intermix and intermarry and date out with all these non-black men, you are reinforcing the color hierarchy. You're contributing to colorism. And then when these biracial kids come out and they benefit from the same, and I mean the same color hierarchy, the same colorism that you reinforce, contributed to by going out here and quote unquote intermixing with non-black men, then you want to complain about the quote unquote light skin privilege, the exotic privilege, but you help to create that privilege by intermixing. By divesting, you essentially reinforce the color hierarchy, the same color hierarchy that these biracials and quote unquote exoticals are benefiting from. And now that they are quote unquote flexing those, now that they are flexing, right, their color privileges, the higher, now that these biracials and exoticals are flexing their color privileges on you, now it's a problem. That's the reason why in the black female space online, you have seen this breakup between black women and exoticals and light skin folks, because you're pushing for interracial marriage, you're pushing for intermixing, but then when those biracial people come back and they quote unquote flex their color privileges on you, now it's a problem. But it wasn't a problem when you were reinforcing the quote unquote color hierarchy by going out here divesting. So to answer the question, divestment contributes to colorism because when a black woman chooses to divest, she is reinforcing the color hierarchy, which the biracial kid is then going to use and flex on her later on. The same color hierarchy that non-black people are going to use and flex on her along. You're reinforcing and contributing to that. And then complaining when those biracial kids, benefit from the same color hierarchy that you reinforce by divesting, When they choose to flex that sort of quote unquote color hierarchy, that sort of color privilege on you, that's a problem. So that's how divestment contributes to colorism. Because when black women decide to divest, they are reinforcing the color hierarchy that they hate, creating a situation in which the biracial kids that are born from those situations are then able to benefit from that same color hierarchy and are then able to weaponize that color hierarchy and that color privilege against those same said black women. And then they're going to be complaining about colorism, but they just helped contribute to colorism by going out here and divesting and intermixing, which only reinforced the same color hierarchy and colorism that they complain about. So that's how divestment contributes to colorism. So let me go ahead and go back to the comments. Where was I before? I'm going back. Okay. Some of these dudes no less Spanish than me, and I'm not even a pastor, bro. Okay, that's good. I posted on the Twitter by Procure number they'll create most of that will eventually put exactly. You're right about that. By Procure non-black men, you're creating biracials who benefit from the U.S. centrist and beauty. Yep. Basically creating enemies, a lot of colorist and anti-black exotical channels or the product of self-hating black people, non-black people. That's right. And a lot of colorist and anti-black exotic. Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you. I was just talking about it. The war between the exotical and the divestors. They're literally seeing what I'm describing in this video is literally what happened like a couple of months ago. It's still happening now. In this world, blindness is only okay on men, not on women. That's because also see the massacre and since black men are then the black split. Look, I said before, colorism affects black. I told you it affects the men and women differently, and I told you why. Colorism, because it has to deal with appearances, it doesn't affect the men as much. It doesn't affect the men as much because men are judged based on resources, but affects men more because colorism affects black men and black women differently. Why? Because black men because men in general are judged more on the resources. So because colorism has more to do with appearance, it does not affect the men as much. But because colorism has to do with appearance, it affects the women more because the women are judged by their appearance. So that black men are affected, but black women are affected more because colorism directly impacts the area in which women are most judged in. Hammer is because us has been his master so cool. Those skin black men are most like. Once again, like I said before, if black men look. Yes, is it true that black people are typically are bigger, strong, and all that? But let's just keep it real. It all goes back to, like I said before, where the men are ranked. If black men were at the top of the hierarchy and black women and black men elevated the women, it will be different. Everybody will be trying to get a black female. Trust and believe. Greetings, Hammer. What is your tribe? Bobby LeKay from Cameroon. The beauty is nerfed to most non-black men. Exactly. Okay. The beauty is nerfed. Taiwan or you, FBA. Okay, it's just communicating with each other. Hammer, but you have to remember that closer also goes way beyond desirability politics. Yes, that's why I said that when colorism affects black men in terms of how they are perceived as this big black brute, right? Big black brute, right? It has really more to do with appearance than anything else. That's why it only affects black men when it comes to how they're viewed as this big black, right? They appear as big black brute. When it comes to the women, it deals so it's still dealing with appearance, but because of men are not judging appearance like that, it's not going to be as severe. Yes, of course, being a big black brute has consequences in terms of police brutality, not going to be get at, but it's not the same. The black men are still able to compensate with that. To FBA 2, I crumble hammer is. I already told y'all it's a Bobby LeKay. So to just going back with your hammer, you should join BS. Last time we did was say, look, I destroyed BS on this panel. That isn't like I destroyed him. Like he essentially had to admit that essentially that he was simply voting for Kamala Harris to get out black females. I mean, he said the immigration thing. I debunked him on that. Then he went on to the whole geopolitical thing, debunked him on that. right? At the end of the day, he essentially had to admit that. I'm like, yeah, could he have some concerns about nuclear war? Yes, by the end of the day, it all came down to quote unquote Kamala Harris, was viewed as a symbol of the gynocracy and black females, and so that's what it was about. We know what it is. Because now that Donald Trump is doing all the white nationalism I told him he would do, all of a sudden now BGS wants to acknowledge the white national Donald Trump. Before the election, he didn't know what I was talking about. After the election, now he wants to acknowledge it. Like, come on, stop. It's not. It's not. And the irony is that he said out of his own mouth that he would rather live in California than Texas. So it was BGS, you would rather live in California, a liberal state, than Texas because you know Texas is super racist, but you got no problem putting a white nationalist in power. Even though you would never actually want to live in a state in which folks like Trump would run it. I mean, it's just funny. Town secret. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Let's keep going. Y'all are just talking amongst each other here. I'm about to open a panel. Why do Paso Bros judge black women because of our masculine, but then instead of ratchet behavior? Oh, like I said before, man, it's all about the beauty standard. That's all it is. A lot of those Paso Bros, and that's why it's being. I told you, they have the same mentality as Divester. So you got to put that in mind. Notice that when a Hispanic woman acts out, she's fine, but when a black woman is a voice, once again, there are a lot of dudes who got that same mentality, divestor mentality, as divestors. That's also why I said that it's a mentality issue because you got a passive SYSBM as well as you got the divestors on either side. I believe only difference between a passive and most men is the range of selection. Oh, not really. It's fundamentally the same to me. Pandemics. Okay. Now, some of y'all may want to contribute. So I've done my monologue here, and I'm open to the panel. So you guys can join up. I'm not going, y'all, man. I'm tired. My back is hurting right now. I'm just damn. I'm doing this for y'all. Okay, don't forget that. I I had to reschedule most. I'm really here because I promise you guys I'll be here, so I have to be here. So here's the link, y'all. Y'all can call and join if you want to, share your thoughts, comments. We'll see how long. We'll see how long I'll keep y'all. We'll see how long the panel goes, and then we'll move from there. Okay, but like I was saying before, I broke it down. That's the reason why when I began the live stream, okay, when I began the live stream, I started off by making this very clear that, hey, this is not just about black, female, and diversity. Once again, this is specific mentality because you got black men with the same, if not similar mentality, right? So that's what I'm really speaking on. So I have gone back and forth and I have discussed this at length. But it just, I guess for me, I try and be consistent because I'm consistent, right? Because you'll go to Christian and Paris and all this, other people and they'll talk about white men are better, diversity, all that kind of stuff. And then you go to the black male side, as we got a pedestalized non-black women, all these type of things, and that's what they are, right? Pedestalized non-black women, diverse, all that rhetoric. Okay, that's what they're on. So when you start to see that it's not even a male or female issue, it's a mentality issue. That you have a certain mentality that is shared by people, irrespective of root of sex. It could be male or female, right? You could have a black dude over here who's worshiping non-black women, right? White women, all that kind of stuff. You have a black female over there, talking about diversities. So I call out both because I want to make sure that I cover everything. So that's about it. I think someone just showed up. Hello.
Hey Hammer, how you doing? Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, sir. So
All right.
what do you want to say? What's your thoughts?
Um, so divestment contributing to colorism. I don't know how much I believe that because divestors tend to be women, if I'm not mistaken, right? And they
Yes.
raise their kids in white communities, so the kids end up usually marrying white people, I think. Like I saw this with I
Mhm.
don't know, I think she ended up being Nigerian, and she's like an Orthodox Christian with a white husband, but she looked East African, but she was mixed, right? I think you did a video on her.
Are you talking about the video about Horn of Africa?
Uh, I think it was, yeah, I think it was her, but
Yeah,
she ended up
that
being Niger. Yeah,
yeah, that was a different situation. That Horn of Africa was just a Horn of African complaining about quote unquote how Horn of Africa is not viewed as black, which they're essentially a mixed race people. But to go back to what you were saying, look, no, what happens is that mostly that, and once again, look, there's a difference between a diverse someone who's a black female who just openly saying I want to date out, to get with a non-black man, blah blah, and a black female who just so happens to quote unquote date out, right? I think diverse is more severe because of specific like intention there, but the consequences very much are still the same, right? What
mm,
ends up likely happening is they're not raised in white communities because white communities don't accept them. Okay, if you pay attention, they never really accept them like that. Look, for example, at Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle was able to kind of slide through because in America she was able to kind of she could pass enough, which you can kind of in America say, oh, I'm not black, I'm mixed, kind of, which is fine. But notice how the moment when she went and got with Prince Harry, them white folks turned up on her quick. She became all kinds of quote unquote niggers all over the place.
yeah, but I
They're
think
still
that's
going.
because she said she was black. Because if she didn't say she was black,
She
I
said
don't
she was
think.
biracial.
Yeah,
She
but you. Mhm.
originally her whole life, she's never had to deal with it. She was just biracial. I posted on my channel talking about Meghan Markle. That was all because she could pass, right?
Right.
She was far enough and black. What ended up happening is that when she got married to, because look, you have to understand, right? The British royal family is not just any white family or any royal wife, because there are a lot of royal families in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Um, what makes them unique is that in even within the white power structure, there's a hierarchy. The Anglo Saxons sit at the top of this white hierarchy. They're viewed as like the cream of the crop of whiteness.
Hmm.
So the British royal family is like they really are the face of white supremacy. Like they're viewed at the top, right? Because understand, you had the British Empire, and then now the United States, which is the unipolar empire, right? Right. The United States is was born out of the British Empire. They're the same
Yeah.
people essentially. So in other words, in many ways, America is nothing more than an extension of the Anglo Saxons. So for
I
you as a biracial female to try and get with what essentially is viewed as like the face of white supremacy, the British royal family, yeah, in the past you may have passed, but they look into a pad, they saw she had some black blood, and that was it. They instantly tore her ass up. She became black that day
She
instantly.
did. I think I saw this breakdown where if you look at white people in the US, there's like a portion that's English and the rest, like the South, is very German or something like that. Like it's weird how it breaks down. So very few of them are like, at least their recent ancestry is more away from England, I think.
Yeah, there's more and more folks. Look, you have to say, look, historically, a lot of those, and you know what's so funny? What educated Tyrone is asking goes to your question, right? In terms of where the Nordic people rank. Look, historically, I will say originally, really, right? It was the Anglos and really Northern Europeans. So, folks in Northern Europe, I think it would be like the Anglos and the Northern Europeans, and then the Southern Europeans would be like way below that, right?
Weren't
So
the
they
Southern on
Southern
top
would be like
before?
if you're talking about the Roman Empire, yes, yes, the Roman Empire was Southern Europeans. But you understand, look, a lot of these, this is what makes whiteness so unique, right? Is that whiteness is exclusionary by nature, blackness is inclusive by nature. And I'll break it down why. The black classification is so inclusive that you can be someone who's biracial and be viewed as black.
Is that
You
because of
can.
our culture, or would you say it's just our political position? Like we don't have
Uh,
a choice, or are you saying we're that
I,
accepting as a
I,
people?
I think, I think, I think it's both. I think that black people are more accepting in general. Because even in Africa, right, you'll see someone have a biracial kid and they go to Africa and they'll still be accepted by the tribe.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. So it's not just, yes, the dynamic, but globally, I think black people have shown that they're more accepting in general of especially the folks who are down, right? The only issue is when them, for example, there are a lot of black folks, black Africans who I think were willing to really accept the Hornets, despite them being mixed. The reason why them folks are being pushed away now is because they don't came out so many times letting folks know we not, calling folks Jaria, right? We not like them quote unquote black folks over there. We mix, we superior. That now most black people, most Africans just separate the Hornets, right? But I would say in general, black people are more accepting, right? The black people are more accepting. If it wasn't for that, I will say they would be putting that too. But the white classification is opposite. It's exclusionary by nature. Because you have to understand, historically, it was really just it was really just Anglo and Northern European. That's really what it was.
Yeah.
So if you were Southern European, you didn't count that. Italian,
Yeah.
Spanish, Portuguese, they didn't really count.
On the Italian thing, you know that I call her a white woman. I don't know if she'd call herself that. NYTN on YouTube. You know her, right? She does the
Is
whole
it that quote unquote Italian female who talks about the history of
yes,
Italians? Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I
I
know.
joking. I call her Southern Italian Black Queen as a joke, but she unironically, right? I like the way she does go into some of the details about it
Yeah.
because a lot the moment she talks about Italians being Italian and not white, which used to be a thing, right? Where people be like, I'm Italian.
Yes.
A bunch of oh my gosh, that's when I really saw it. Like a lot of English Southern people were just hating on Italians in the chat. They were like, "You're white. Stop trying to be special." It was crazy. I didn't know it was like that. Like it made no sense to me.
Look, there is a dude, right? There is this. I have seen situation of actually, I'll say it right. There is a quote unquote a white YouTuber that I watch who lived in Italy, and then when he came to America, he had all kinds of white folks tell him in the chat that you're not white, you're Italian. So what I'm telling you is that whiteness is exclusionary by nature because you got to understand that historically, right, it was always you know what, I'll give you an example. It starts off from the premise of excluding people compared to blackness, so from the premise of including, right? So for example, whiteness is based on who is not white, blackness is based on who is black. You know what I'm saying? Blackness goes out seeking people they can add in the classification. Whiteness goes out eliminating people who do not qualify. You see the difference?
I'm trying to be, but isn't there going to be some overlap, right? Because you're saying whiteness is saying who is not white,
Yes.
and blackness is saying who we can add onto it. So
who is black? Yeah.
Who's black or blackish?
I'll give you an example. That's the reason why people who are biracial are more likely to be accepted compared to the white to those in the white category. They can never be white, but they can be black.
I actually, if they're white passing, they can be white, right?
Yes, obviously we know that, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time, because once again, if they could be white passing, they wouldn't be on the white black side anyway. We know this. They'll be over there, the white folks. But most of the time, these kids, you can tell. I mean, it's not hard, right? Black biracial kids are very easy to tell. You get because the Negro feature very strong. So The fact that the black classification is inclusive enough where it can even include biracial people to a certain degree, right? Now, I say, y'all know that I take a much more harder approach of them biracial folks should not be black, them horns should not be black. But once again, that's me as an individual.
Mm.
I always press, hey, that's my opinion. But if we're talking about how black people and the general classification works, unfortunately, I will say in practice, though, folks who are mixed do tend to be more accepted on the black side. That's a fact. Whether I like doesn't matter. That's a fact.
Right.
So it's a difference between what you personally want and what the fact is. Black people in general, and that's something I have to accept. Black people, are just a little bit more accepting like that, right?
Is that
Now,
good or bad in your opinion?
I make the argument that it's more bad, because I feel like, if you are the permanent underclass, this can be problematic because all the biracial groups are only in your classification because they cannot be in everybody's classification. So it becomes a problem in that way. Meaning the moment they get the chance to hop, they will hop. Right? But at the same time, I understand that black folks, are just more open like that. Right? But what I will say though is that because think about it, right? I'll give you the point. Let's look at Barack Obama. Let's look at based on my understanding, I believe that Malcolm X was mixed too, right? Was he halfway?
Sure. He claimed. I think he said that I think it was his mother or his grandmother, I forget, was assaulted by a white man. So I'm not sure if it was his mother or his grandmother. So he might have been, but I think he was mixed. Yeah.
Okay, I guess, but y'all can cross the chat. But my thing is that look at Obama, for example. I'm like, can we all, if Obama were to enter any black establishment and say I'm black, how many black folks are really gonna say no?
Zero, because we view it differently, right? I guess.
Well, I'm saying, like, let's say Obama is just an average dude.
Yeah.
Right? He's not he's an average mixed guy. He looks the way he does. He enters the black space. I'm black. I have white men. I'm black. What percentage of black people are gonna say that he's not black?
Zero.
Yeah, I will say most black folks will look at him and say you're part of the team. He would have to do so to disqualify himself. Now, black folks will disqualify you.
I think even if Obama, were a regular guy and he did do something, people would still not disqualify him. Like they would still rep him, right? You kind of see how far it goes sometimes, man. It's trippy.
Yeah,
like
look,
I've been following some of the developments, right? And I stumbled across them through Natural Hair Movement. The Exoticals, for example, they have this weird thing where they keep alienating themselves from blackness to say that they're better, some of them, right? But at the same time, they'll never let go, because if they let go of blackness, that they can't sort of, benefit from the isms, right? So it's kind of weird. So they hover like vultures almost.
They're allowed to hover because they already know that black people. I've said it before, right? Look, I made the argument as two things I play here. I'm like, for example, in Africa, I believe even in South Africa, right? If you're mixed, you're mixed. You're not black. They don't even get that.
The colored
yeah,
thing.
The colors, yeah. So what you see is that it can also go the other way too. What I'm saying is that black people in general do tend to be, just by default, much more accepting of biracials like that. Right? Come to the groups, right? But they can also easily go the other way too. If folks got a hand, because for example, I am seeing a growing number of people saying that biracial is not black now. Now, of course, the only issue I have is okay, I get that, but what does that mean for Obama? So I guess now it becomes a situation where you gotta pick and choose, where you gotta like select. Okay,
Is it
if they're married to a black person, right? So like, well, go ahead.
is it more women saying this or men?
Now, that's what I say. I will say that there has been more black women saying that because once again,
And
they hate the whole biracials and the exoticals.
so it's female beauty politics that we're sort of acquiescing, right?
But I'm like, but the point is that it's not just them because look at Dr. Umar. I don't know that I don't know that Dr. Umar accepts biracial. I'm not sure about his position on that.
I feel like he would, to be honest. I think he would because he had. Remember the thing he said about genes? I don't think it's accurate. Remember what he said? How it
About,
would just the
I'm not
genes
sure.
dominate.
Oh, black G's. Did he say that? Black G's
He
dominate?
said that. He said that. But he's still hard on the snow bunny thing.
I'm like, not to be fair, he goes hard on both sides. He goes hard on black females too. Just like that doesn't go viral. When he talk about black females, doesn't go viral.
Yeah, that
He
doesn't
goes,
because that's
that,
understood.
mm-hmm. But the point here is that um, blackness, by its definition, is a more black in general, more inclusive on that, right? I can point you to examples, for example, of black folks who are biracial and mixed who have been accepted in the black community. I can't really show you that on the white side. On the white side is if you're not fully European white, like if you're biracial, you're not white. They make it very clear.
I'm trying to think of someone.
Maybe
Tiger. Okay, well, no, Tiger Woods is Asian.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
But the white folks like him. That's because of golf.
Yeah, golf. Yeah, but dude. And by the way, dumb Asians don't claim that, dude.
That's true. That's true.
They don't claim it. But Tiger Woods will prove my point. They don't claim like that. The irony is that notice how the only racial group that claims this dude is black folks. No other group really claims him.
I'm trying to think of someone because there's got to be someone that white folks claim. There's got to.
Andrew Tate, based on my understanding, right? Andrew Tate's father was like what, half black, and he was essentially half black, and the middle was white. So he's probably like 60%. So Andrew Tate is considered mixed because educated Tyrone, them white boys told Andrew Tate various times on Twitter, his comments, that they don't view him as white. They've told that dude various times. Like he literally talks about how they'll call him brown, all that kind of stuff. Like,
but that's like, yeah, but they just want him because of the not the manosphere, the red pill.
Yeah, manosphere.
The wave. Yeah. You kind of get the waves every couple of years, right? Where it's the new guy. Like it used to be the big bodybuilder dudes, giving advice, and then they take off because no one really listens to them anymore. And then it's Tate. Pretty soon it's going to be someone else. Maybe a guy who looks like he dresses like a K-pop dude or something.
Who knows? But what I'm saying is that the look. And that's why I would say, look, number one, most people are going to be with known group, right? What I'm simply referring to is how flexible each racial classification is. It doesn't mean that they just open the door saying, well, because that's not what's going on. It's how flexible they are. There is no flexibility in whiteness at all. Even some guy like Andrew Tate. That's why you're not white. You got 20%, 30%, that's not going to work. They tolerate you more, but that's not gonna work.
Aren't we seeing whiteness sort of be bent by more quote unquote Latinos entering?
Oh no!
Because
I am so happy you said you asked. Finish your question. I this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I remember I came across this one guy. He was some sort of model, and he was like a right wing Cuban guy. And I remember when I first came to the United States. Like 2018, I was visiting. I remember I was in Miami and it was all people who spoke Spanish. Like no one spoke English in like the Walmart, which was crazy to me. But these people all looked white, and then they tan sometimes, right? So with more Latinos coming into the US, right? and they're Iberians. They got their own Las Castas, the redemption of Ham, the painting, Blanquimento. These people, aren't they slowly sort of bending whiteness? Because a couple
Nope.
of them, you don't know if they're white or not, right? Because
Yeah.
they look.
Now this is very important, right? This is what them Latinos thought too. They don't support the club. That's why a lot of them voted for Trump. A lot of them, since what 55% of Hispanic men, there are too. Look what's happening now. Trump and them say, y'all gotta go.
Yeah, the
All
deportation.
right.
But I didn't know how many Latino people were illegal immigrants in the United States. I thought most.
Based on my now, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. Based on my understanding, the majority of them are illegal. That's based on my understanding.
That's crazy.
Now, I could be wrong. Y'all could be. That's based on my best guess. That's the majority legal, and I think the ones who are legal, I think that most of them get it through birthright citizenship. They're like they'll give birth to the kid here, and the kid
So like
is
the parent or the family member as the kid be born there,
yeah.
right?
So my
Ah,
best guess, now once again, y'all can go, but my best guess is majority are legal, and then the majority of the folks who are legal here, get it to birthright citizenship. Right now, of course, I could be wrong, but that's my best guess. But that's not the point. The point I'm trying to make here is that you saw how 55% of Latino men voted for Donald Trump, and you see how Trump is reacting to them. He's getting them out of here for real this time. And they're crying. They're talking about revoking protections for Cubans, all that kind of stuff. Venezuelans, we felt betrayed. They're saying this now because you said it yourself, right? They tan in the sun. Now, pure whites typically they don't tan in the sun, right? Their skin becomes reddish if you pay attention.
yeah.
Real pure whites, their skin becomes reddish in the sun, doesn't tan. So if
I
it's
think
tan,
the Australians, the Australian orange is actually skin cancer, right? Or excessive damage to their skin, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, once again, don't tan, right? So, in other words, what you need to understand is that the purest whites in the Americas are actually in North America. Because when it came here, it was like anti-miscegenation at all. So the white folks here, they were really only dealing with each other, so they were able, and you have waves of waves of waves, so they were really able to keep their blood pure. That's why you got white folks here, 99% white, 1% Native American, right? In South America was different. They instead encouraged admixture to create the sort of racial hierarchy with the black Latinos, indigenous, mestizo, and blancos. So the
I'm South
majority,
American, man, but I'm
oh yeah,
black, like pure, basically.
yeah.
Like
So
Suriname,
the
we're like
majority,
Caribbean, basically.
yeah, but the majority of South America is mestizo. The
Yep.
minority is actually a blanco, and even those white blancos, because of all the admission going on, even they have a significant amount of admission too. That's what they'll tan.
Yeah, but do you know what the funny thing is? I think people looked at it, and most of the South American people, like in these Spanish speaking countries, they're actually what you said, mestizo with like a tan, right? Like a slight tan. But most of their leaders tend to be white, like really white.
Yes. Now,
Statistically, that's very improbable, if you
mhm.
think about it. But it's crazy.
That's why I made that video about Latinos races, and I broke down how Latinos are the majority of the population, but they reinforce. Sorry, mestizos are the majority, but they reinforce the quote unquote racial hierarchy. Because how? Because if they really wanted the racial hierarchy to be done with, they could kill it because they have the numbers to do so. So the only way you can have white folks be a minority there and still be at the top and all that kind of stuff is that it's not only the it's not only the white leaders who buy into the racial hierarchy, the mestizos have to buy into that too for that to work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Because they
They do.
provide the numbers to back it up. All right.
But
So
Hammer, I got the. Have you seen the movie They Clone Tyrone?
no, I have that.
Oh, Hammer, you got to see it. It's not like the best movie, but the theme in it is really good because it got me thinking about something. Um,
Mm.
if I look at the number of black people in the US and white people, in theory, right? In like a generation, if all white people got with black people over a generation or two generations, they could literally turn all black people white through miscegenation if they did it.
Um, they
I
could.
think
Well,
they could. They got the
now here's the
numbers,
thing.
man.
Well, this we gotta talk about the numbers. Okay, so black people, what 13%, right? White folks, so what are they now?
50,
Um,
40, 40 something, 50 something percent.
I believe is non-Hispanic, and this is, and by the way, this is the reason why they say non-Hispanic, because most of the mestizos, even if they may pass as white, they're mostly mixed, so not pure blood. The white Americans know this. Now you can see a Latino guy who looks white, but if they didn't taste like about 30-40% indigenous. So
Yeah,
they can
but
never truly be white because they're really mixed, even if they look a certain kind of way. But to answer your question, look, 13% of the population, right? White folks are what? Non-Hispanic whites, the actual pure whites, 65%. Okay, if they absorb all of you, dude, that would be too much black blood to absorb.
do you think
That's too.
so? Because they
Because
could do it over two generations, right? That's 40 million
think
a
about this. Think
generation.
about this. If I take, let's just say I take 13% of whites, mix it with a 13% of blacks, right?
Hmm.
Then those biracials go then and now here's the thing, right? You're also ignoring the fact that those biracials could just end up mixing with each other and create a mix, like we saw with the mestizos, and just create a mixed race people. They don't
That is
have
true.
to go back and date white again. So if 13% of white and 13% of blacks marry the mixed population, now you got 13% of mixed people being born.
But that is still that's why I mentioned the movie They Clone Tyrone. Like in the
Mhm,
movie, I'm gonna
mhm,
spoil the main theme, right? Basically, they're using cloning technology in the movie, and every like they show a vat, like
mhm,
several vats, how they gradually get like each generation of clones more white. And
mm.
yeah, like it's a thing. So even if they do that, like what you just said, right, the mixed people getting with the mixed people, they'd still be getting closer to whiteness, right,
Yeah, I'll be
through
lighter.
that,
Yeah.
right?
But the problem is that if they then try to then remix with those same mixes back into the white population, the fear they have is that black blood will just be in there. Too much of it. It'll be sort of like the Mastilles, for example, where
Ah,
okay, whereas like, okay, you're already what 90 to 99% white. If you then mix with some biracial, okay, that increases the non-white blood in you. So
so they're
yes,
like they're like purists.
yeah, but dude, yeah, I'm like, look, like the purest whites are in North America, like 97%.
Wait, what?
The
Really?
purest whites are in North America. Yes, I will say, if I was to say the areas where the purest whites you can find, I will say North America, Canada, and United States, maybe Argentina,
Oh,
because
you
of
mean
his,
in like the Americas, right?
yeah, the Americas in general. I
Ah,
will say
okay, okay.
North
Yeah, yeah.
America and maybe Argentina in terms of like purest by percentage wise, like 90 or above.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Most most of the other Americas is mestizo, and even the white folks there having probably less than 90% white.
Oh wait, I think
Like
Canadians are pretty, because I think Canadians are mostly, or are they also
they're
mixed?
they're they're pure blood, like they're almost like 90 or above. But you have to
Yeah.
you have to understand there was anti-miscegenation laws in North America, so there was not a lot of mixing with that compared to South America. That's why even the
I
white
think
folks there have.
The Mennonites would probably be the purest, quote unquote, like the Amish and the Mennonites, because they're like,
Yeah, the Amish are probably pure too. But what I'm saying is that because of the laws, how North America discouraged that mixture compared to South America, it just naturally produces more racially pure white folks compared to in South America. To the point in
hmm,
which even the supposed pure whites there have still admixture. I will say the only place in South America I can really think of where it's really, you could say, close to North America when it comes to pure whites is Argentina.
Yeah, but Argentina's like they had wars. You know the history.
Yeah,
Literal, they
yeah,
just
they
made it.
literally genocided
Yeah,
other the
through
black.
war.
So
They
yeah,
said fight
so
for us, and then they just got with the women got with them, and yeah, it's crazy. And you know what's
that's for sure.
crazy? The black
Mhm.
women, or some of the black women in Argentina, they don't like. If I saw them, I would not think they were black. Just I would not. But they get harassed by the other Argentinians.
I might have
It's
probably
crazy.
mixed blood. It's mixed blood. So that's kind of
Yeah.
what it is. But to answer your earlier question there, look, at the end of the day, dumb Latinos again the way we call now. At the end of the day, you have too much mixed blood to really be
But
white in this country. Then
but that's the thing, right, Hammer? Isn't the whole blood thing antiquated? Because I've been looking in the population genetics, right? And basically, you only genetically, right, in terms of the DNA you have, you're only related to a handful of your ancestors. Like most of your ancestors, you don't have their exact genetics. So it's kind of crazy when you think about it. It's like it's only a couple of generations in either direction on your mother's and father's side, and
I'm
a
not.
handful of them. Like
I'm
it's
asking.
crazy because
I, go ahead.
no, no, because like at a certain point, going down the family tree, going up your family tree, if your DNA gets something like smaller than a certain unit of what you inherited, it gets deleted or it's deleterious. Like it no longer registers. So like your ancestor from maybe like 2000 years ago, you getting with them is not inbreeding, quote unquote, which is wild to me. So like
Look,
so that's why I'm thinking like, why don't the whites consider this strategy? Because honestly, I think racism is one of the biggest things keeping black people, at least in the Americas, black. Because like if whites stop being racist because of the pathologies, what would we do if they wanted to just all get with black people?
it first of all, nothing will really change. I'm gonna tell you why. Because I'm saying, look, human beings are tribal by nature. Okay. So what you want to say that even wanted to get with you, that will not change the differences. That does not change the fact that if I go into a store, whatever, right, people can see that I look different from the white person. Like the like the actual, just phenotypical differences don't change. Okay, and you have to understand that people in general are tribal and are gonna fight for resources. Because look, here's something I've come to realize, right? Everyone loves talking about kumbaya until it's time to decide who gets the power and resource.
That's
It's
true.
all we want to get together, but then well, we're cool. This one that's not going to happen because once again, when the conversation comes up, who gets to be in the seat, who gets to have the resource, who gets to have the power, all of a sudden it's going to matter again. Because if everybody of a certain phenotype, which is European, is having the resources, but you don't, you're gonna notice that pretty quickly, aren't you?
Yeah.
So that's what that's not gonna happen because the fundamental reality of power in this world does not change.
So if we move towards a more like what the some of the Scandinavian countries have, and even there they still have power dynamics,
Mm-hmm.
but if we went to something like that where you kind of don't get a pure underclass, right? Like it's really hard to be
Hold on,
like
stop.
destitute.
You
Hmm?
cannot compare that. Those are white countries.
Yeah, I
They're
know, but
white.
like they got immigrants, right? A lot of I think East
In fact, the
Africans.
crazy part you're saying is that the reason you're seeing the rise of the right wing in Europe is because of the immigration. So
That is true.
before the immigration, they were cool with social welfare, liberalism. The moment too many non-white folks are showing up, nah, we're not doing that. Get out here. It proves the point.
It does, but wouldn't you say that they were historically more extreme, like the like the Norse, right, or the Scandinavian peoples? They created this image acquiescing Europe, right? the quote unquote European ideal. But before that, they were very brutal, even to each other.
Look, Europeans historically have had war with each other. We know that they historically they've been at war with each other. That's not new, right? They're essentially a warlike people, so that's not changed, right? That's not really changed. In fact, you've seen that with Ukraine. What I'm simply saying is that the reason why Europeans have all these welfare systems is a reason why in America we don't have it, because those places are homogeneously white. Because all those things were developed before the immigrants really came in real numbers like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Why? Because think about this from just because you have to understand, right? Human instincts don't change. Human nature remains the same across the board. If you Takuri, sorry, Tori, Tori. If you are paying into a system, are you going to feel more happy paying into a social system if you believe that other people, other black folks are going to benefit from that? Or are you going to be less willing to pay into it if you believe that it's going to be more of white folks or non-black people getting the money, getting from the welfare?
I mean, I wouldn't really have a choice if it's mandated, right? Okay, if we're just talking happiness, if more black people weren't benefiting from it because we were doing so well, right? Then I wouldn't really
I'm
care.
not saying no. Put that to the side. I'm just saying you're living in a society, right, where all that doesn't really matter, right? Just know that everyone's doing fine, whatever, right? They're proposing a social system. I reason that you and most people, right? Let's just say it's a majority black country. Black folks would be more willing to support a social, paying into a social system if they know that most of the resources are going to go to the black people. I believe that if we get a situation where it becomes 30, 40% white, and they believe that most of the money will end up in the hands of white folks, I think that most black folks will be against our social system. Wrong or right?
Yeah, I guess they would.
That apply, and by the way, that applies to all groups. The same thing with white folks. They perceive in America that because black Americans could benefit from these social systems, therefore they're against it.
Wait, but those systems that they got rid of, right? Wasn't it white women that got the most? I think there was like a ranking list, right? Black people were 7th on the whole list.
It doesn't matter. That's why I asked you that question before. It's literal human instinct. The idea that your labor and your resource is going to people who don't look like you, just it don't matter. It don't matter. They shouldn't be getting at all. That's the mentality.
Okay.
Same thing. That's also the reason why in Europe they have these mass social work. Why? Because they were homogenous up until recently. And notice how as it became more and more multi-ethnic, then there was more of a pushback when it came to all these social, they was complaining about too much non-immigrants being on social welfare. Now, would they be saying that those folks were all white? Of course not.
But most likely, statistically, more white people will be on benefits than immigrants in those countries. Yeah.
I'm like, that's fine. But the point is that you should. I don't think they're saying. The point is you should not be receiving. Somebody outside my group should not be getting it anyway.
Yeah, that's probably because family break. Their families look like them.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. It's human instincts. Thank you. I have no problem if it's 100 white dudes in the homeless shelter getting money that I'm paying into because these are white dudes out of my group. But if it's just 2 black men in there, no, we gotta stop. So it is.
Do you think we need to overcome tribalism?
I think that that's unrealistic. I don't think there's no point in coming that. I think that look, unless the human race becomes this one singular race of people, as long as you got different groups of people, think about this. I'll give an example. If I create, I'll give an example, right? If you look at the NFL, for example, If every single team united into one team, then they would win the Super Bowl because they will be the only team on the roster, right?
Yeah.
Share together. But as long as there are multiple teams, there is always going to be about who wins Super Bowl. That's how it's with human beings. If we were just one singular race, yeah, we could just come together. But as long as we are different groups of people, there's always going to be a battle about who gets to be at the top. That's never going to
That's
change.
trippy. Because you know what's really interesting, Hammer?
Mm-hmm.
Circling the wagon on the population genetics thing. Basically, the way you get races is by an isolated population. So, and I believe even if the world were quote unquote perfectly like globalized, like if you wanted to go to Korea in the next hour or the
Mm-hmm.
next 2 hours, you could, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a world like that. Even in a world like that, just because of the mass of people we have, you'd still get groups of people who are different based on what
The
part of the
environment.
world they're
Yeah,
in.
the environment.
It's literally impossible to escape.
Yeah, because you have to listen to this,
Crazy.
right? Art literally has different environments, okay? And then the technology is a relative. This modern tech is new. You gotta remember this. For most of human history, people had to take on the environment they were at, you know, with very little technology. So if somebody has to live in Northern Europe in the cold and the snow, obviously, their body is going to adapt differently compared to a black person living in Africa with the jungle. So area is not the same. Or someone in
Yeah.
desert. And you're there for thousands of years. Obviously, your body's not up to that.
But
Because there is no technology to really shield you from that. But go ahead.
the speed at which the humans adapt is what I'm trying to figure out right now. Like how much gets lost when you adapt and you're in like an isolated population, right? Because I heard someone say that natural selection isn't just who dies off, it's who has the most kids, right? Like what's the most successful person that reproduces on and on, right? Like the politics of children and who survives. So I'm trying to figure out because that fixes traits and populations if you get enough offspring. So I'm trying to figure out how quickly humans can adapt through to an environment like that and how permanent is the adaptation.
I'm like, once again, we can do studies into that. You can't really tell, right? That would have to be just more deeper study to get into. All I can really say is that what we do know is that our phenotypes, the way we look, all these type of things were shaped by the environment we're in, and so that already means that in general, there's always going to be different groups of people, just based on the fact that we have to, like adapt to the various environments we're in. And as long as different groups of people, there's always going to be a conversation of which group gets to be on the throne. Which is why historically it's always what groups fighting for power, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Oh, but the
So
phenotype thing is crazy. Because did you know that males, right, have different I'm gonna say reproductive cell lines that clone themselves. So they're competing with each other within the same male. So like at different times in a man's life, some of these cell lines might be more present, some might not, and he can have different kids that are basically siblings, but they look different because of the cell line that got it to the egg cell. So it's crazy how even there you could get like a man has a bunch of kids when he's 20 and when he's 40 and he does it, it's a whole other different looking group, but they're related, but maybe they don't even look related.
I'm like possible. I'm not familiar with that, but I'm like, yeah,
Oh, you,
possible.
you gotta you gotta look into this, man.
Yeah, I'll look
It
into it. I'll
gets
look into
good.
it. But anyway, I think it's been may have to head out now. But is there any last word you want to say before you get out of here?
Not necessarily, but uh, yeah, I really got anything. Interesting stream. I only caught the tail end, so I'll rewatch it later
Hmm.
to get all the good stuff. Because you were cooking, I guess. Maybe if you could make a video explaining the difference between passport bros and the average man, because to me the only, I said it in the chat, the only difference is like the range of selection, right? Because it's the same power dynamics, resource selection,
The
and that kind of thing to me.
I'll break it down to you now. The pastoral bro is someone who actively goes overseas in order to seek a right and to mate, right?
Mm.
I don't got a problem with pastoral if they go for black women, go you're dealing with your group. If you want to go overseas for black females, that's fine. The problem pastors when they actively go overseas to go in non-black areas to influence non-black women. That's problematic. And I broke down why that's problematic and this shit. And Austin Holloman kind of shows you why. Because at the end of the day, all the anti-black issues are just gonna manifest themselves. So my only thing with the pastoral bros is that if you're gonna do that, you gotta do that with women who are part of your racial group. That's my own thing. Um, so
But
what I
why do
was
you? No, sorry. Finish your thought.
that's why I was saying that divestors and passive. That's what I was doing the same because both of them have a certain mentality of going out there and chasing admixture because they believe it'll improve the situation. But go ahead.
But why do you make the distinction between non passport bros who go after non-black women and those who go after black women? Because aren't the local men from the place that if they're black going to a black country, right? Aren't the local black men going to feel the effects of the passport bro going and doing whatever with their women?
I'm not look for folks always going through the effects, but the difference is that you looking like those people goes a long way. Like I don't think people really like comprehend the gravity of that statement. You know, a, a, a white dude traveling to Europe,
Mhm.
even if he may not fit in right, the fact that he even looks at people makes it that much more easier for him to intermingle and get married compared to a black
Mm.
dude doing the same thing. Because if he think about it, for example, if he learns the language, the culture, he will fit just right in. He'll walk down the streets and no one even know.
Okay, that is true.
And
That is.
if he speaks German or Italian, they don't think he's one of them. The only way they would really know is if he told them that he's an American. But if but he looks white, he speaks the language, he has the accent, they will never know. He fits literally. Same thing with a black man going to Africa. He goes there, learns the language, wears the daishiki, wears the robes. He fits right in. No one even knows. And I don't think you recognize. If you look like the people there, guess what? You get treated like the people there. That's the most important part.
Okay, okay.
So the same way a German white dude, right? If he's driving down the street, the cops will go and give him leeway. That American white dude, because he looks like those white folks and he sounds like them, he'll get the same leeway too because he'll think he's one of them. Same thing with a black American male. He's in Africa.
Mm.
If he looks like the black folks there, if he adopts the language and sounds them, they will never know. They'll just see him as another West African driving.
Interesting. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. But if he was a white dude, it wouldn't matter how much he learned. His phenotype will give it away instantly. Folks
Would
would know.
so would you say that maybe in just, and this is just my last question because I know you
Mm-hmm.
gotta go. Would you say that a black guy who went, or a black woman, right, who went to Africa, an African country, wouldn't they be subject to like tribalism there? Because you get different tribes have slight different appearances, right? So wouldn't that
They're
be a
all
factor?
black, bro. They're all black. I mean, it's just
But
keep it.
but but the tribalism goes
Tribalism,
hard, right?
tribalism. Yeah, tribalism will be there, but you have to understand every group has tribalism. Tribalism here in America,
Yeah,
even amongst Black Americans, it's separate. Well, that's
but
not
there,
something new.
but in Africa we still have a more defined culture and identity for each tribe, right? There it's in the US it's hodgepodge.
Yes, I understand
Right.
that. But what I'm saying is that this is why looking like those people matter. Because even if you have the tribalism piece, right? The fact that you're from that continent, you have the genetic right, makes it easier to penetrate through.
No, I agree with that. I agree with that.
So if that come on, look, same thing with that white dude going to Germany. Yes, Europeans have it now, right? Italian and French, that's not new. But why does him being white matters? It makes it easier for him to penetrate. There's less who from the jump. So if she goes to Ghana or Senegal, yeah, fine. But the fact that she looks at women there, she's women there, she has a language, it will be that much more easier for her. Okay, that much more
Yeah,
easy.
I
She'll
get
fit
that.
right in, and she's willing to adopt the culture of the church. She's fine. She'll fit right in. But if a white female goes, a little difficult. Now, of course, obviously, will there be some black dudes who tap dance? Yes, but she will
Some
never.
some is an understatement, my guy. Some.
Yeah, the full time. But the thing is that if a white female went there, she will never really be able to be absorbed into that group because whenever she enters the room, folks will know she's not one of them.
Yeah, I think the women. I think it's a thing where women tend to be more in group preferenced than men.
I'm like men are in group
You-
preference too, but what I'm saying here is that it will be, she will never be truly one of those people. That's what I'll say. Even if she did everything, adopt the culture, it doesn't matter. Her phenotype will always, push her out. The same thing in America here. Black Americans will never be truthful American because their phenotype denotes them as being separate from the mainstream society. That's why a white dude can come here from Germany and he's an American. Except the case he has a phenotype. You as a black American or black person in America can be here for 100 years, doesn't matter. Same when it comes to Africa. If that was a black female, she could walk into any room and fit right in. Nobody would even know. If she dresses, wears the rapa, the clothes, and she comes in there, how would they know? Like really think about it, right? How would they really know she's black, that she came from America?
Mm,
If let's have
I'd say it depends on the tribe. It depends on the tribe.
they all have, dude, they're all the same race of people. The
No,
only
but
thing,
they don't all quote unquote look, because you have people who only marry their same tribe or someone from within their tribe, but they look like the tribe has a look. I get you're saying race, but they have a look, right?
I don't think you understand. Like, yes, do these folks have obviously we know the certain looks, but what I'm saying here is that because of all the same racial classification, it's not really as big as you think it is. It's really not. I get what you're saying. Like, oh, like the only place I can really think of will be like the Horners or the North Africans. The Horners are actually mixed, but
Uh,
because that's why they don't know. But most of them they'll finish the sign. Trust, I'm telling you, but you don't believe.
no, I'm trying to like process it, man.
They will.
Because I imagine, you can, because even in like if you took like black Surinamese people, right? We have different regions, but like we have two main black sub ethnic groups, and you can for the most part tell the difference, right? Just looking at the two groups. But if you went to black people from like our neighboring country Guyana, you can sort of tell the difference as well.
I'm not. Are these people mixed?
No, we're all black, but we just all have
Based on
been
my understanding, Guyana is mostly mixed with black and Indian, right? So they're mixed race.
there are some, but most people that I've encountered aren't mixed in Guyana.
Not in count, but like the actual sense. Like based on my understanding, like almost a majority of them are mixed race. So they're Guyana.
Really?
Yeah, based on
I
my understanding.
when I went there, I didn't really
Yes,
see that many
obviously on the
mixed people.
street, but I'm talking about the actual numbers, right? But that's based on my understanding. I could be wrong, but that's my understanding.
I've met a few, or like one or two, but not a ton to be honest. But
But
okay.
I'm more interested in the actual numbers. But what I'm saying here is that look, it's not as big as you think it is. Like it's really not. Like for the most part, if they go in there with the same thing with a white dude, I will say, yeah, even a white American going to all these European countries, if he wears the clothes, everything, he'll largely fit in, right? I'm
Mhm.
like, could you see some differences here and there? Yeah, but it's it's not going to be wide enough where it's going to be a real problem. You get what I'm saying? It's really not. Like, I'll give it an example. I can pull a black dude. I'll give it an example. Look, for example, at Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, and the military leaders there. Do they look different?
They do look alike, yeah.
Thank you. Now, those are like 3 different countries, right?
Yeah,
different culture, different tribes, right? If I take the president of Senegal, Nigeria, Cameroon, South Africa, all across the continent, I put them next to each other, they look the same. There's really no real difference. Hell, I can take a leader of the guy of Jamaica's a light skin, but I can take some black from the Caribbean. Compare them. So, like, just looking at those Sahel, those 3 states, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, you can see it. That's how it is for most. You're the same race of people for the most part.
So it's just clothes and the way you speak and what your name is based.
That's it, yeah. So, and by the way, notice all of those things are things that you have the ability to change, but you can't change your race. That's the difference.
Okay. You can change your children's race, sort of.
I'm talking about being able to be accepted to a group. You cannot change your race right now to be like, you cannot change your race to become a pure white man to be able to be in that white community.
Sammy Sosa. Okay, he didn't change his race, but that man,
even that did not work, because when you look at him, guess what? You can still see the Negro nose, right?
Michael Jackson.
Michael still does not work.
Oh, come on, Michael. The white people love Michael.
Everybody knows he's genetically black,
but they love white Michael.
Of course, Michael.
That's the most iconic Michael. Believe it or not.
Yeah, he's more appealing. But the point is that that's not really going to work like that.
I didn't even know. Did you know? I didn't even know Sammy Sosa became a news anchor. Like, when I saw the guy reporting, I did not know it was him. I genuinely thought, who is this guy?
Yeah. But folks will know. So am I. But you know what I mean, right? So folks will know. But what I'm saying, and trust me, the flaw in that strategy is that folks will eventually find out. So, especially when them kids come out.
Yo, but you see Michael's kids, right? Oh, that's a rabbit hole.
Those are not his actual biological kids. Those white kids.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That is so weird, because I keep getting people saying different things, and it's
those are not his
mixed couples. At least, okay, but they weren't black. It wasn't like one parent was black, but I've seen a couple of mixed couples where all them kids are white, but it wasn't like with a black person.
Dude, let me ask you a question. Do you really believe with biological kids? No,
I have a hard time seeing the resemblance.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that.
He was a black dude, and his appearance may have changed, but the genetics don't change. He's still right. Yeah. If he was as black as he was, you will see it. So
can I say something else?
What?
Michael, the white woman that Michael got with was just why? You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that stereotype. But like Michael, I don't know. I don't get it.
I'm not as with this, man. I'm like, baby, y'all come from wrong. Best amount of sending this guy, Michael Jackson light of skin. The thing that was some white female, and they have these white kids claiming to be his kids. It's all kinds of nonsense. Look, at the end of the day, the point is, does that answer your question? At the end of the day, black female can just change your clothes, change your accent, and fit just right in. She already got genetics. White women cannot do that. That's the difference.
Yeah. I got it. Well, a great show. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Well, I'll see you later, man. I'll let you go right now. But thank you, bro. And thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. And we'll go ahead and leave the show there. Thank you so much. And we'll see how, if I do another live stream, We'll see. I'll try to do some more uploads, but y'all let me know how you think in the chat, how y'all feel. But like, share, subscribe, hammer out.